Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Today we are continuing with our previous lecture on fundamental rights in Islam. Brothers and sisters, we have already discussed the meaning, nature of human rights in Islam in the light of Quran and Hadith. Inshallah ta'ala, today we'll continue to discuss about the various safeguards enshrined into the Islamic system to preserve and protect the human rights. In every political system of any country of the world, human rights are guaranteed and also protected by various means. In some constitutions, they are justiciable rights, like in our constitution we have in part 3, wherein no executive authority or legislature can infringe upon these fundamental rights as they are justiciable. Apart from this, the provisions like supremacy of the Constitution, the provision of independent judiciary are the custodians of human rights in various parts of the world. Today we'll try to discuss and find out what are the safeguards provided in Islam so as human rights are not trampled upon by the executive or the legislature. Viewers, Islam believes in, first of all, the concept of sovereignty of God. It is God who is sovereign and not the executive or the legislature. God is the lawgiver, the omnipotent, the omniscient, the creator, the sustainer, and cherisher. So it is God who is sovereign. The ruler, even the parliament, have to work under the law of Sharia provided by the Almighty God. So this is the first safeguard. The rulers or even the parliaments or the lawmaking bodies cannot transcend the limits of lawmaking, violating the parameters of Sharia. In the early Islamic Caliphate, the caliphs were aware of this fact, and that's why they always saw to it that whatever they do as per the provisions of the Holy Quran and Sunnah. So thus, the Sharia and in fact the sovereignty of God is a major safeguard for protection of human rights in Islam. No ruler can challenge this. One instance can be cited here when Hazrat Umar, the second caliph, was ruling. He was referring to the practice prevalent at that time of dower. People were giving more dower to the daughters on their own. when Hazrat Umar came to know, he was thinking that it is too much. Why a father is giving so much to the daughters on his own? Of course, it was not a demand by the husband, like the modern practice of our society, of our present environment, social environment. It was not like that. In fact, it was becoming a trend at that time that the fathers on their own were giving more and more dower to the daughters. Hazrat Umar, in his khutbah, in the address, in the sermon to the people, he told that this has to be reduced. The dower should be reduced. One lady, it was a common lady, she stood up and questioned the Caliph, challenging his authority. "O Caliph, who are you to restrict our right? Don't you know that the Prophet has given us these rights?" When the Caliph Umar saw the lady opposing this, he agreed with her and retreated from his own intention of making such a law. So what we come across in the Islamic period is that all the caliphs, all the rulers, they exercise their authority under the sovereignty of God. They never thought themselves to be the sovereign. Another instance can be cited in this regard. Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq the first caliph, he once said, "To me, your weakest individual is mighty so long as I do not get him his dues from the usurper. And your mighty ones are weak to me so long as I do not force them to yield what they have usurped from others." And of the last instructions and advice that he gave before his death, he told, "Whatever I have taken from the Baitul Mal, means the treasury, state coffers, as a salary or subsistence to me, the whole amount should be returned back to the treasury." He warned his son. People said, "Amirul Mu'mineen, that was like your salary." But Abu Bakr insisted, "No, that was from the treasury and I have to repay back." In fact, people were reluctant. The second caliph, Hazrat Umar, when he heard this, he had to accept. He promised him, "O Caliph, I will obey you." After his death, when money was not enough to repay the whole amount, on his instruction, Hazrat Umar sold his land, Hazrat Abu Bakr's land, and whatever proceeds after sale, that was deposited in the state treasury. This was the practice of the rulers, to show that they always exercise their authority not as sovereign, but under the sovereignty of God. This is the first safeguard. The second safeguard is, in fact, the concept of trust. In Islam, the rulers are exercising authority as a matter of trust. The ruler is a trustee and trustee of God. He always exercises his power and authority as a matter of trust